Good morning. Welcome back to the Voodoo Garden. My name is Ray. I am the host of this colorful nonsense I like to call the Voodoo Garden. I have this rather torn, ratty-looking piece of paper in my hand, and this is actually very important because this is from you. Last episode, I was supposed to address some of the questions that you had concerning plants here in the Voodoo Garden because you have questions and I'm supposed to have answers for this kind of stuff. Well, what I normally do is I just turn on the camera and there you are, right in front of my face, so I just start talking. And whatever comes out of me, and that's how the program works. There's usually not any kind of rhyme or reason to it. Unless I have like a weekend edition where I have questions and answers. Well, I was supposed to get to a few things in the last episode and I didn't, and I'm really sorry about that. It's not that I don't care, it's just that my brain doesn't work correctly, and sometimes I just forget. So as soon as I filmed last time's episode, I went upstairs, I'm hooking up the computer, whistling away and uploading the stuff onto the computer, and then I see this on my keyboard. And I put it on my keyboard so I wouldn't forget. Well, I forgot. And no, it's a real list. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Look. See? Yeah, it is. Pardon my handwriting or lack of handwriting. Yes, this is an actual list. When I look at comments, sometimes people will have questions, and I'll just take a pad of paper and I just write down the general thing that they want to know, and then I try to go over it on the next episode. That's how I plan my episodes. It's very technical, and so I want to use this program to go over your questions so that you don't, think I don't care. I really do care about what you want to know. Let's go over the first thing. First plant that somebody asked about, and I don't know who it was, but you know who you are. You asked about the wandering Jew that I have up here. A wandering Jew, and they wanted to know how I grow it, tips, things like that. And I guess the best way that I can describe this is a wandering Jew is a plant that I saw back in the 80s at a neighbor's house. And she said that it just kept growing and pieces would fall off, and she put it in dirt and it would just grow and you can't stop the things. And it sounded kind of fascinating to me. She gave me a little tiny piece of the wandering Jew. I put it in dirt and it died. So I went back to where I got another piece of wandering Jew. I put it in the plant and it died. So I just kept killing these little wandering Jewettes that she kept giving me, the little Jew babies. And I don't know what I did wrong. So what I did is I just forgot about it. And then years and years and years later, right now, I found this little tiny pot with a little wandering Jew in it at Walmart, and I thought, I got to do this. I got to prove to myself that I can grow this plant because everybody says it's easy to grow. I got to figure out what I'm doing wrong. And it turns out what I was doing wrong was I was overwatering it. Wandering Jews don't like to have their soil stay dry for too awful long, otherwise they get a little crispy. If you've ever had a wandering Jew and the leaves start getting crispy, that's because you're not watering it enough. Also, if the leaves get crispy, you're watering it too much. So the wandering Jew is kind of a weird anomaly. If you water it too much, you water it not enough, the same result in my experience. So what I do is I feel the pot. And when I feel it starting to get a little bit lighter, I give it more water, but I don't flood it. I just give it a little bit of water, and that's all I do. And one of the things that you got to know if you're growing wandering Jews, from my perspective, okay, other people may have perspective, and if you do, I welcome it here in the comment section. When I grow mine, you have to keep turning it, okay? Mine's in the corner, and there's no light behind it, of course. There's light out here. So all of the growth, you see how beautiful it looks over here? Let me show you my dirty secret. Come on over here. This beauty started out in, I think it was a 2-inch to 3-inch pot. It was just a couple little starts. It only cost me like $1.97 or something like that. And it grew. It went nuts. And then as it grew, I kept transplanting it. And these things, what they'll do is, it's not like they, you prune them off and they send out multiple stems. They'll do it all by themselves, see? They do this constantly. And all along the stem, you can see it has new growth. It just keeps doing that. And each new one will put out another new one. So it's like a pyramid effect. Now the thing about wandering Jews is, don't worry if you start looking like this, okay? This is normal for this type of plant. What'll happen, and it's bound to happen, is the stuff towards the top of the pot, it looks like there's hardly anything up there, right? And you're wondering, well, where's all this big beautiful plant coming from down here if there's nothing up here? Well, that's what happens. The stems, as they grow, the ones back here, will slowly start to look like they're dead, but they're not. They're still supporting stuff here. The nature of the wandering Jew is you can take cuttings and you can root these things very easily. Don't listen to me when I said that, I planted them and they died. Root them in some water if you want to. Just put them in a glass of water and take the leaves off on the parts that are in water. And within a week or so, you're going to see roots coming out. You can plant them. And then you take them and you put them right back up into the pot. You plant them up there and it continues the cycle of new stuff. Now, when I say that you have to turn this plant, I'm not kidding. Look at this. I'm going to turn this plant for you. Look what happens if you don't turn the plant. Yeah, there's the backside you don't see. But I used to turn this plant all the time. But the problem is, well, actually not even a problem. I think it's kind of a cute thing. I have this tropical vine growing all over here. It's a passion fruit. Passion fruit puts out all these weird little runners that grab onto everything. Well, the passion fruit grabbed onto the wandering Jew and decided I'm not going to turn it anymore. So without destroying, I got to really destroy some of this stuff over here in order to turn it. And I was thinking about it, wait a minute. Why do I even need to turn it? It looks fine here, and this is the only part I'm looking at. If I ever want to, I can move this, and what I'm probably going to end up doing is taking cuttings, like I do always, and I really tick people off, is take cuttings when the mother plant starts looking ratty and start all over again. And then I'll put it somewhere else where this vine will not destroy it. Because once it looks dead on one side, it's really kind of difficult to get it to look full again. But that's my secret to wandering Jews. They will grow well in bright light, but they don't like full sunlight as much as they like filtered light. They'll grow well in medium light, but I wouldn't recommend low light. Okay, you may have different experiences. I'm just giving you advice based on my experience. Medium to medium bright light, mild fertilizer, nothing strong. Don't let it get too dry, don't let it get too wet. There's my secret. You got it. Well, that pretty much does it for the Wandering Jew. If you have any specific questions that you want answered, post them in the comment section below, and I will answer your specific questions. But that's just my general outlook on how I grow mine. So let's move on to the next one. The next one was a banana tree. Somebody wanted to know about the banana, and I mentioned this many, many times before. So I'm just going to go over this really quickly for those of you who don't know. This is called a banana plant or banana tree. It's called a zebrina. I'll put it right here. Zebrina banana, or blood banana, is what it's called. I was mistaken, and I'm not really so surprised that I'm mistaken, because I generally am. So many things go through my head. I get things a little confused sometimes, and that's just my nature. That's just how I am. I'm comfortable with that. I was looking at on eBay one year, and I saw this banana tree. I thought, ooh, pretty. And you know, plant lovers, when you see something that's shiny, you just got to have it. Well, I saw this banana tree, and they took really beautiful pictures. I got to give them credit, whoever it was. And I had to buy it. And they were selling little slips. They call them slips, little baby pups that come off of the banana plant. And they take those things off and they wrap them up in wet tissue and then in plastic, and they ship them to you really quick. So you can get a live plant in the mail, and that was really kind of nice. I got this little itty bitty plant, and I tossed it in dirt. The leaves died. It looked kind of crappy, and then it started coming back. It got better and better. It turned into this beautiful tree. The problem was it wasn't a dwarf. Well, I don't know if it was a dwarf. If it was a dwarf, it was the biggest darn dwarf I ever saw in my life. It was this huge thing that hit the roof. So I chopped it down, and it grew back, and I chopped it down again. I keep attacking this thing, and it keeps coming back. It really must like me. Now, if you want to grow these things, easy peasy, okay? It's the easiest thing you're ever going to grow in your life. They can take full sun. They can be grown outside, as a matter of fact, as long as you bring them inside if you have cold winters, because they don't like the cold. They'll just drop dead. Now, some people say you can overwinter them. Some banana trees, I guess, are more cold hardy. I don't know, because I don't take mine outside. All I know is indoor gardening when it comes to this. That's why, we have the voodoo garden. It's indoor gardening. Now, if you're going to grow these inside, bright light, they'll take full sun, but mine likes bright filtered light. It seems to do the best here. Let the soil dry out a bit, because they have a very extensive, very thick root system. They can take lack of water for a little bit of time. And you'll know they're getting a little too little water when their leaves start to droop just a little bit. Don't let it do that very often. Just give it a good watering, let it dry out a bit, get it, another good watering, mild fertilizer. That's kind of a cookie cutter care instruction from me, because a lot of plants use the same kind of care. So I just call it common sense care. But that's the story on my banana. If you wanted something more specific, please ask more specific questions, and I'll be more than happy to help you with that. But that's my general growing conditions for my banana. There. Okay, next one, papaya. Oh, that's right next to the banana. Papaya is a fruit that you normally see in the grocery store. It's this big hunking thing. And papaya, I got a dwarf papaya. At least, once again, I hope I have a dwarf papaya. One of you sent me dwarf papaya seeds. I think it was one of you. And actually, a lot of people sent me papaya seeds, but most people sent me regular papaya seeds, and I can't grow a full-size papaya plant in this room. This room is only, I think, 6 to 7 feet high, so I have to really pick and choose what I grow. So if you ever send me seeds and I don't grow them, I'm really sorry. I can't grow everything because there are limitations to what I can do here. Someday, if I ever get rich, I'm going to have a full-size voodoo garden with unlimited ceiling height, and then I'm going to go crazy. But for right now, I have to keep it toned down just a little bit. This is supposed to be a dwarf papaya. And what I do is I put it in the same conditions as I do with the banana. The thing with the papaya is it seems to me it does a lot better if you give it brighter light. So you see these big bulbs here? What I do is I take this papaya plant over here, I place it on top of one of these upside down, and it brings it up closer to the light. These are very bright compact fluorescent bulbs. And so what I do is I put it on top of there and I keep it about a foot below those bulbs, and then it starts growing. If I lower it down, it stays alive, but it doesn't grow. It'll just sit there for a month and not do a darn thing. And I was wondering why it wasn't growing, because I rearranged the voodoo garden. Then I put it up on that pot and I noticed it was growing. See, I learn a lot of things from trial and error. I'm no expert. I'm basically a crash test dummy. I try things, don't work. Try other things, they work. That's how I figure out gardening, and I like it like that. Now, if you're going to grow it inside, make sure you take the dead leaves off, okay? You don't need the dead leaves connected to it. It really does no good. And then as you remove the lower leaves, the trunk is going to get thicker and thicker, and it's going to look really beautiful, kind of like a palm tree. So that's my take on a papaya. Next one is, Moonlight Philodendron. I had to look this up. Somebody asked me, Ray, what's that beautiful plant with the reddish leaves? And this is a philodendron. There are many kinds of philodendrons. There's philodendrons that look like this one up here. This is a pothos up on here, the vining thing. Most people, they see the vining philodendrons, and those are the ones you see in office buildings, grandma's house, and stuff like that. They have the heart-shaped little leaves. Those are called heart-leaf philodendrons. Those are very common, usually slower growers, and they're great for low-light conditions. If you have if you have low-light conditions, philodendrons fit the bill just fine. They'll grow slowly in low light. If you give them brighter light, they grow faster. They're an all-purpose plant. They can do anything. Now, this one is called, what is it called? Moonlight Philodendron. And I think that's a beautiful name for it. It has really, come on over here, and I'll give you a real quick view of this so that you can, if you want to get yourself one, you can, come on over here. This little booger was really tiny when I got it. It was cute. It was a closeout, misfit plant at Walmart, and it only cost, I don't know, a few dollars. It was in this little tiny pot. I transplanted it, and let me tell you something right off the bat, okay? Here's a tip from Ray. If you're going to get yourself one of these standing philodendrons as opposed to the vining ones, make sure you have a larger pot like the 16-inch ones over here, okay? That's about 5 gallons worth of soil. Make sure you have a large pot, because they may start out slow and they're going to look like this for quite a while, but then all of a sudden, for no reason at all, they give you no warning in the middle of the night, they decide it's time to grow. Yeah, it's like a little shop of horrors. And this one sat here and did nothing for the longest time, and then all of a sudden it started growing. Now, when I got it, it was very unremarkable. It just had these little leaves, nothing much to look at. And then what happened is, once it starts growing, take a look at this. This is what the leaves, they come in wrapped up in a tube in the middle, like right here, and then they'll unfurl, and look at that color. Is that beautiful or what? It's a reddish flesh type color, and that's what they're normally supposed to look like. They don't come out green. And then as they're real soft too. They're like tissue soft, so don't go playing with them. Now, once they start drying out and maturing, they turn this brown color. It's a beautiful brown color. And then as they dry even more and mature, they turn this emerald green. That's a beautiful plant. 3 different colors going on here. And that's how they grow. Now, like I said, prepare yourself for, and this one is called, what was this one called? Moonlight Philodendron. Okay, if you get yourself a Moonlight Philodendron, this is what you're going to get. There are many different kinds. Emerald Duke, Emerald Princess, Moonlight, there's a few different ones. And once they get going really fast. This is the kind that's going to go straight up in it. Like if you put it in a corner and you put a post in there, it'll send out these aerial roots, these thick roots that'll grab onto the wood and hold it up. That's how they grow in nature. They'll grow up by a tree and they'll send out these really thick finger roots, like, you know, I'm doing this weird claw thing, and they grab onto the bark. And that's how they pull themselves up, because they're not self-supporting. No matter how thick this thing gets, it'll never be self-supporting. So make sure that you have that, either a little bit of a lattice or some kind of piece of wood, anything you want to do, a stick wrapped up in a cocoa peat fiber or netting or something like that, or even have your grandma knit you some, crochet you something to put around a stick for it to grab onto. Do it any way you want, but these ones grow really well under medium light, and they'll do good under dim light or bright light, like I said. But this one grows under medium bright light, and that's what seemed to get it going. When I put it closer to the light, it really started kicking in. So as you can see, my voodoo garden is kind of a rescue. It's really weird, because in my real life I rescue animals, dogs and stuff like that. I take in misfit animals, and that's just what I do. Now with my voodoo garden, I tend to bring in misfit plants too, because I see these things at the store and I feel kind of sorry for them, because they're kind of cute and they're over there in the euthanasia section of the plant department, and I want to bring them home and I want to make something of them. So that's what I do. I brought this thing here, and this little showstopper, people keep mentioning how beautiful it is, and I mentioned that I was going to chop it up and put it up on the shelf. Well, I haven't been able to bring myself to do it. I might have changed my mind about that. I might take clippings and put them into pots and put them on the shelf, but I don't believe I'm going to get rid of the mother plant. Okay, I took a look at her and I thought, you know what, you look pretty good, and she's very happy here. So for those of you who are really feeling bad that I might get rid of this, I'm not going to do that. And I want to show you a couple more things that weren't on the menu, but I just happen to have them right here. This, for those of you who are wondering what this monster thing is that I'm moving around, this is a Coleus. I've been showing you this, and I showed you that how I pruned it back really, really hard a while back. And it was just a few episodes ago, maybe a couple months ago. I showed you how I took it back to nothing but stubs. And people were looking at it going, oh gosh, is it ever going to come back right? Well, yeah, see, it did come back. And this is what I'm doing with this. Most people grow these as a colorful little bush. What I've been doing is I've been removing the lower leaves, as you can see, and I've been turning this into a tree. And I want to see exactly how tall this Coleus is going to get, because I have no idea. I've never had a Coleus get this big before. This is one Coleus. It looks like a whole bunch of them, but it is only one. It's like I did with the tomatoes and peppers, mainly the tomatoes. I pruned it back, I buried it deep, I got the roots going, and this is what I got. Now, in hindsight, I should have put it in a bigger pot, but I really did not expect it to do this. So yeah, this is the Coleus. For those of you who want to grow one, you can get them at the garden centers right now, because in springtime they start putting them out for people to put out in the garden. You can get them for like $1, $2. Get a small one if you want to grow it indoors. If you don't have an outdoor area, grow it indoors. They like bright light. The brighter the light, the better it'll grow. Okay, so you can decide how you want to grow your thing. If you want to grow it medium light, the color won't be as vivid and the leaves will be smaller. If you grow it in brighter light, the color is going to be richer and the leaves are going to be thicker. If it ever flowers, cut it back, okay? Cut it back, a few inches back behind the flower, and get that flower off of there, because the flower signals it's going to slow down and stop growing, and that's not a good thing, because our flowers kind of suck. And the flowers aren't really why I grow these things. You can cut it back and it'll branch out, and it'll send out new branches out of that stem. So don't worry. If you ever need to cut these things back, they are masters at coming back from the dead. And one last thing I want to mention here is this one has been hiding off in the bushes behind you. This is a Dieffenbachia. Yeah, I said that right. I'll put it right here, right in front of Coleus. Dieffenbachia. Now there's a bunch of different ones, but they're normally known as dumb cane. And how appropriate for me. But this is called a dumb cane. And a lot of them that you see are in offices, and they have this big thick stalk, and they have this display of leaves on there. They look similar to a banana tree. Well, this one is a little bit different. This is called a camille. Okay, camille. I'll put that over here too for you. If you ever see these things, they have more of a milky look to their leaves, and they also grow in clumps. Instead of just one stalk growing up, what it does is, you can't stop this thing. It'll put out like 100 stems out of one stem, and it turns into this bushy thing. Now what happened here with this is kind of neat. This one grew up on that side of the pot, okay? Here we are with this plant on this side of the pot and a couple leaves down here. Well, actually, that's not what the plant looks like. The plant grew up over here, and it was kind of leggy, and it put out a little side shoot. And I encouraged the side shoot to go off to the side, and then I transplanted it from a little pot into this big pot, way down deep, like I do my tomatoes. I should be an undertaker, the way I bury my plants so deep. I just keep throwing them way underneath the soil, but they keep coming back. And what I did was I took that side sucker and I ran it along in the soil, and it had new shoots coming up, and I buried it up to where the new shoots were, and they started growing. And then I put in more dirt. See, this wasn't full of dirt at the time, so I put in more soil as I went. It's a process, see? Getting plants like this to get them to look nice is a journey, and that's what I think is fun. Yeah, it's really beautiful, you know, to look at a plant like this, but I think that the real joy for me is the process of getting them to be like that. And trimming them here, looking at them here, and then remembering back when we got our plants and telling the story to people who are, you know, bored enough to listen to our stories. But that's the story of this one. This is actually one plant, and the sucker went underneath and came up, and the original plant is no longer here. And the more you bury these things, the better they get. And they are self-supporting. Well, this one isn't. But I think with the new growth and the brighter light, because I put it up by the lights, these really do like bright light. They don't like direct sunlight. Mine never did. But they do like really bright light, and they will be really healthy. If you give them a mild fertilizer, let their soil dry. They love this, okay? Let their soil dry out. You give them wet soil, you're going to have these leaves turning mushy, and the stems will turn mushy. If you get mushy stems, leaf stems on these, you're definitely overwatering your Dieffenbachia. All right, until next time, this is Ray and his colorful little friends. We're out of here. Okay. You know, I need smaller plants. I need smaller plants because I set up this room, and it takes a lot of work. It actually takes me more time to set up this room than it does to film this program. So I got to put all these things back up to their lights and put the pots back up because it's kind of like when my mom used to go out, and she's going to hate this, but my mom, back when she was younger, she would like, you know, tease up her hair and put on the hairspray and put on the makeup and stuff like that. And this is back in the 60s and 70s. She put on her go-go boots and stuff. And boy, she looked beautiful. My mom was beautiful. But, you know, when she came home, the makeup came off and the hair went down. She looked like a normal, everyday housewife. And that's what this plant room is like. When you're not here, I got pots going here, I got things here. It's more of a grow room instead of a show room. So appreciate this, okay? I do a lot of stuff just to make it look good for when you decide to come visit. Okay, I'll shut up now. I'll shut up. All right, thanks anyway. And door is right there. You can go anytime. Okay, you go right over here.